Okay, today is 7th of August and we continue with the Khandha-samyutta. Today we come to 22.89. This sutta is quite interesting and a bit amusing. On one occasion, a number of elder monks were dwelling at Kosambi in Gosita's park. On that occasion, the Venerable Khemaka was living at Jujubi Free Park, sick, afflicted, gravely ill. Then in the evening, those elder monks emerged from seclusion and addressed the Venerable Dasaka thus. Come, friend Dasaka, approach the monk Khemaka and say to him, the elders say to you, friend Khemaka, we hope that you are bearing up, friend. We hope that you are getting better. We hope that your painful feelings are subsiding and not increasing, and that their subsiding, not their increase, is to be discerned. Yes, friends, the Venerable Dasaka replied. And he approached the Venerable Khemaka and delivered his message. Stop here for a moment. So, the elder monks, they sent this, must be a junior monk, Venerable Dasaka, to go and send their greetings to the Venerable Khemaka. The Venerable Khemaka answered, I am not bearing up, friend. I am not getting better. Strong, painful feelings are increasing in me, not subsiding, and the increase, not their subsiding, is to be discerned. Then the Venerable Dasaka approached the elder monks and reported what the Venerable Khemaka had said. They told him, come, friend Dasaka, approach the monk Khemaka and say to him, the elders say to you, friend Khemaka, these 5 aggregates of attachment, friend, have been spoken of by the Blessed One. That is the form or body aggregate of attachment, the feeling aggregate of attachment, the perception aggregate of perception of attachment, the volition aggregate of attachment, the consciousness aggregate of attachment. Thus the Venerable Khemaka regard anything as self or as belonging to self among these 5 aggregates of attachment. Yes, friends, the Venerable Dasaka replied. And he approached the Venerable Khemaka and delivered his message. The Venerable Khemaka replied, these 5 aggregates of attachment have been spoken of by the Blessed One, that is, the body aggregate of attachment, perception, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness aggregates of attachment. Among these 5 aggregates of attachment, I do not regard anything as self or as belonging to self. Then the Venerable Dasaka approached the elder bhikkhus, elder monks, and reported what the Venerable Khemaka had said. They replied, come, friend Dasaka, approach the monk Khemaka and say to him, the elders say to you, friend Khemaka, these 5 aggregates subject to clinging, friend, have been spoken of by the Blessed One, that is, the body aggregate of attachment, the feeling, perception, volition, consciousness aggregate of attachment. If the Venerable Khemaka does not regard anything among these 5 aggregates subject to clinging as self or as belonging to self, then he is an Arahant, one whose asavas are destroyed. Stop here for a moment. So the Venerable Khemaka, he says he does not regard the aggregates as self or as belonging to self. So they asked him whether he was an Arahant. Not necessarily that he should be an Arahant. He can be a Sotapanna if he has discarded this. If he is a Sotapanna, he would have eliminated Sakaya Ditti, identity view, in which case he does not regard the aggregates as self or as belonging to self, or Sakadagamin or Anagamin. So here they asked him whether he is Arahant. Yes, friends, the Venerable Dasaka replied, and he approached the Venerable Khemaka and delivered his message. The Venerable Khemaka replied, these 5 aggregates of attachment have been spoken of by the Blessed One, that is, the body aggregate of attachment, the feeling, perception, volition, consciousness aggregates of attachment. I do not regard anything among these 5 aggregates of attachment as self or as belonging to self. Yet I am not an Arahant, one whose asavas are destroyed. Friends, the notion I am has not yet vanished in me in relation to these 5 aggregates of attachment, but I do not regard anything among them as this I am. Here he is saying that he does not have this Sakaya Ditti. Then the Venerable Dasaka approached the elder monks and reported what the Venerable Khemaka had said. They replied, "Come, friend Dasaka, approach the monk Khemaka and say to him, the elders say to you, friend Khemaka, when you speak of this I am, what is it that you speak of as I am? Do you speak of body as I am, or do you speak of I am apart from body? Similarly, do you speak of feeling, perception, volition, consciousness as I am, or do you speak of I am apart from these aggregates? When you speak of this I am, friend Khemaka, what is it that you speak of as I am?" "Yes, friends," the Venerable Dasaka replied. And he approached the Venerable Khemaka and delivered his message. And the Venerable Khemaka said, "Enough, friend Dasaka, why keep running back and forth? Bring me my staff, friend. I'll go to the elder monks myself." Then the Venerable Khemaka, leaning on his staff, approached the elder monks, exchanged greetings with them, and sat down to one side. So you see, this Venerable Khemaka, they asked him so many questions, and he got fed up. So even though he was very sick, he took his tongkat, his walking stick, and made a great effort and walked to them. The elder monks then said to him, "Friend Khemaka, when you speak of this I am, what is it that you speak of as I am?" They repeated the question as before. And he said, "Friends, I do not speak of body as I am, nor do I speak of I am apart from body. I do not speak of feeling as I am, nor do I speak of I am apart from feeling. Similarly with perception, volition and consciousness. Friends, although the notion I am has not yet vanished in me in relation to these 5 aggregates subject to clinging, still I do not regard anything among them as this I am. Suppose, friends, there is the scent of a blue, red or white lotus. Would one be speaking rightly if one would say, the scent belongs to the petals, or the scent belongs to the stalk, or the scent belongs to the pistils? No, friend. And how, friends, should one answer if one is to answer rightly?" And the elder said, "Answering rightly, friend, one should answer, the scent belongs to the flower. So too, friends, I do not speak of body as I am, nor do I speak of I am apart from body. Similarly, I do not speak of feeling as I am, nor do I speak of I am apart from feeling. Similarly with perception, volition and consciousness. Friends, although the notion I am has not yet vanished in me in relation to these 5 aggregates of attachment, still I do not regard anything among them as this I am. Friends, even though a noble disciple has abandoned the 5 lower fetters, still in relation to the 5 aggregates of attachment, there lingers in him a residual conceit I am, a desire I am, an underlying tendency I am that has not yet been uprooted. Sometime later, he dwells contemplating rise and fall, or rise and cessation, or birth and death of the 5 aggregates of attachment. Such is body, such its origin, such its passing away. Similarly, such is feeling, perception, volition, consciousness, such their origin, such their passing away. As he dwells thus contemplating rise and fall in the 5 aggregates of attachment, the residual conceit, I am, the desire, I am, the underlying tendency, I am, that had not yet been uprooted, this comes to be uprooted. Suppose, friends, a cloth has become soiled and stained, and its owners give it to a laundryman. The laundryman would scour it evenly with cleaning salt, lye or cow dung, and rinse it in clean water. Even though that cloth would become pure and clean, it would still retain a residual smell of cleaning salt, lye or cow dung that had not yet vanished. The laundryman would then give it back to the owners. The owners would put it in a sweet-scented casket, and the residual smell of cleaning salt, lye, or cow dung that had not yet vanished would vanish. So too, friends, even though a noble disciple has abandoned the 5 lower factors, still in relation to the 5 aggregates of attachment, there lingers in him a residual conceit, I am, a desire, I am, an underlying tendency, I am, that has not yet been uprooted. As he dwells contemplating rise and fall in the 5 aggregates of attachment, the residual conceit, I am, the desire, I am, the underlying tendency, I am, that had not yet been uprooted. This comes to be uprooted. Stop it for a moment. So here he's saying that he's actually an anagamin, and because he has abandoned the 5 lower factors, and yet he still has this residual conceit, this mana, I am, that has not been uprooted. So he says he has to continue observing or contemplating the 5 aggregates, their nature and how they originate and how they pass away, contemplating impermanence in the 5 aggregates. Then slowly one day the I am is uprooted. And he gives a very good simile. It's that a dirty piece of cloth is sent to a laundryman. The laundryman cleans it and gives it back to the owner. And when the owner receives it, it still has a little bit of smell. So he puts it in a box with a lot of sweet-smelling flowers and perfume and all that. And then he closes the box. And then over a period of time, the cloth would imbibe, would soak up the sweet smell, the perfume. And later its nasty odor would go away. So in the same way, this I am is that nasty odor that slowly will disappear. When this was said, the elder monk said to the Venerable Khemaka, "We did not ask our questions in order to trouble the Venerable Khemaka, but we thought that the Venerable Khemaka would be capable of explaining, teaching, proclaiming, establishing, disclosing, analyzing, and elucidating the Blessed One's teaching in detail. And the Venerable Khemaka has explained, taught, proclaimed, established, disclosed, analyzed, and elucidated the Blessed One's teaching in detail." This is what the Venerable Khemaka said. Elated, the elder monks delighted in the Venerable Khemaka's statement. And while this discourse was being spoken, the minds of 60 elder monks and of the Venerable Khemaka were liberated from the asavas by non-clinging. So this Venerable Khemaka is a great anagamin. He can explain so well that the 60 of the elder monks, they also attain arahanthood. So possibly they had also attained some stage of aryahood, but when they heard this teaching, then they were liberated. This is the Venerable Khemaka. You notice the monks, 60 of them who heard the teaching, they attained arahanthood. And Venerable Khemaka, who taught the teaching, he also attained arahanthood. Because in the suttas, the Buddha says there are 5 occasions, only 5 occasions when a monk attains liberation. One is when he's listening to the Dhamma, pure Dhamma. And second is when he's teaching the Dhamma. Third is when he's repeating the Dhamma. Fourth is when he's reflecting on the Dhamma. And fifth only during meditation. So you see, out of 5 occasions when an Arahant attains liberation, 4 have to do with the Dhamma. It shows how important the Dhamma is. In fact, you find in the suttas and the Vinaya, most of the monks who attain liberation, they attain it when they listen to the Dhamma. But of course, according to the Buddha's discourse, the precondition is that they must have the 4 jhanas. If they already have the 4 jhanas, their mind is very clear, then they listen to this type of discourse. Or like what we read yesterday, the Anatta Lakkhana discourse, then they will attain liberation. So this sutta is a bit amusing. Actually, these elder monks, they had a lot of respect for this Venerable Khemaka. They wanted to learn from him because he's so good at explaining the Dhamma. So they sent this young monk to go and ask him all these questions. Probably they thought, because there's so many of them and they are all senior monks, it's not proper that they go to him. So they sent the young monk. The young monk kept going back and forth so many times until this Venerable Khemaka got fed up. Bring my walking stick, I go myself. So the next sutta is 22.93. This sutta also gives a very beautiful simile. At Savatthi, the Buddha said, monks, suppose there was a mountain river sweeping downwards, flowing into the distance with a swift current. If on either bank of the river, kasa grass or kusa grass were to grow, it would overhang it. If rushes, reeds or trees were to grow, they would overhang it. If a man being carried along by the current should grasp the kasa grass, it would break off and he would thereby meet with calamity and disaster. If he should grasp the kusa grass, it would break off and he would thereby meet with calamity and disaster. If he should grasp the rushes, reeds or trees, they would break off and he would thereby meet with calamity and disaster. So too monks, the uninstructed ordinary folk who does not see Aryans, etc., who is not learned or trained in the Aryan Dhamma, regards body as self, or self as possessing body, or body as in the self, or self as in the body. That body of his disintegrates, and he thereby meets with calamity and disaster. He regards feeling, similarly, perception, volition, consciousness as self, or self as possessing the aggregates, or the aggregates as in the self, or self as in the aggregates. The aggregates of his disintegrates, and he therby meets with calamity and disaster. What do you think, monks? Is body permanent or impermanent? And they say impermanent, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent, suffering or happiness? And they say suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is suffering, subject to change, impermanent, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself. And they say no. Similarly with feeling, perception, volition, consciousness, he asks them one by one, and then they say the answer as before. Then he says, when Aryan disciple sees this, understands this, then he becomes disenchanted, and from being disenchanted, becomes dispassionate with the five aggregates, and he becomes liberated. So the simile here is a very beautiful simile. This man is swept along the river, and in desperation he is drowning. So he grasps at anything by the bank of the river. So happens there are five things there: the kasa grass, the kusa grass, the rushes, the reeds and trees. But all of these are fragile. When he pulls at them, they just give way. And he's swept along by the current and he drowns. So this simile is a very good simile because we are swept along by the current of life. We flow in the stream of life. And we also, in the same way, we hold on to our five aggregates, just like this man trying to grasp at the five things. So we are grasping at our five aggregates, hoping they will be maintained, hoping that they will give us happiness. But instead, because they are impermanent, so they will, just like the reeds will break off, grass will break off. So as we hold on to the five aggregates, they slowly disintegrate. They become sick and die. Just like the man is drowned, so we will also die. Lifetime after lifetime, we hold on to the five aggregates, and we swept along the river of life. So this is a very beautiful simile to make us understand how we are swept along this river of life. 22.94 at Savatthi, Buddha said, monks, I do not quarrel with the world. Rather, it is the world that quarrels with me. A proponent of the Dhamma does not quarrel with anyone in the world. Of that which the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, I too say that it does not exist. and of that which the wise in the world agree upon as existing, I too say that it exists. And what is it, monks, that the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, of which I too say that it does not exist? Body that is permanent, stable, eternal, not subject to change. This the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, and I too say that it does not exist. Similarly, feeling, perception, volition, consciousness that is permanent, stable, eternal, not subject to change. This the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, and I too say that it does not exist. That, monks, is what the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, and of which I too say that it does not exist. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that firstly he does not quarrel with the world. The world quarrels with him. One who teaches the Dhamma does not quarrel with anyone in the world. So from this sutta you can understand because there were a lot of external sects in the India at that time. So when the Buddha became enlightened, there were already at least 6 famous teachers. And when the Buddha taught the Dhamma, it was very different from what they were teaching. So because they could not understand his Dhamma, they criticized him, they talked bad about him, they were jealous of him and all this. So because of all that backbiting, he says that they quarrel with him, but he does not quarrel with them. So you can see actually all holy men, if they start to teach actually, and what they teach is different, so it's very dangerous. Like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, he taught, his teachings were quite good, but because he was different from what was being taught at that time, a lot of people could not accept what he taught. So in the end they crucified him. He died and to teach something good. So in the same way, the Buddha also, a lot of people talk bad about him, were jealous of him and all that. So that's the risk when you try to teach the true Dhamma and it is contradictory to what others teach. And sometimes, like the Buddha, when he teaches the Dhamma, he has to contradict what the other teachers say, and he has to criticize what the others say, and has to point out. Like there's one sutta where the Buddha says that fool Makali Gosalaputta, he leads so many people to the woeful plains of rebirth. Just like a fish trap, what do you call it, pukat now one, where they have all these stakes, the bamboo, and the fish go along and they are led along until they go into a trap, and they enter the trap and they cannot come out. So in the same way, the Buddha said, this Makaliko Salaputta, that fool is bringing a lot of people into the woeful plains, and they won't be able to come out from there for a long time. So a lot of people don't study suttas enough. They think, the Buddha is such a nice person, doesn't criticize people, doesn't talk bad and all that. But it's not. The Buddha is so straightforward. He dares to call a fool a fool. That's why he says he does not quarrel with people, but people quarrel with him. So he says the wise people in the world agree that you cannot find a being with the 5 aggregates that are eternal, that will live forever. And he says he agrees with that. And what is it, monks, that the wise in the world agree upon as existing, of which I too say that it exists? Body that is impermanent, suffering and subject to change. This the wise in the world agree upon as existing, and I too say that it exists. Similarly, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness that is impermanent, suffering and subject to change. This the wise people in the world agree upon as existing, and I too say that it exists. That, monks, is what the wise in the world agree upon as existing, and of which I too say that it exists. So here the Buddha is saying he agrees with the wise people in the world that the 5 aggregates, that means a being, body and mind, all of them will change. They give us suffering. They depend on conditions. There is, monks, a world phenomenon in the world to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it. And what is it, that world phenomenon in the world to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through? Body monks is a world phenomenon in the world, to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it. When it is being thus explained and elucidated by the Tathagata, if anyone does not know and see, how can I do anything with that foolish worldling, blind and sightless, who does not know and does not see? Similarly, with feeling, perception, volition and consciousness is a world phenomenon in the world to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it. When it is being thus explained and elucidated by the Tathagata, if anyone does not know and see, how can I do anything with that foolish worldling, blind and sightless, who does not know and does not see? Let's stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying, he teaches the 5 aggregates to the world. But there are some people who are foolish, blind and sightless. They have much dust in their eyes, and they do not understand. They don't see. They don't know. So he says he cannot do anything with them. It's not true that the Buddha can teach everyone, can help everyone to become enlightened. No, the Buddha says he only teaches tameable men. Only wise men, people who are not wise enough, when they hear the Dhamma, they cannot understand because they have their hindrances are too thick, the 5 hindrances. The Buddha says, we are foolish, we are stupid because of the 5 hindrances. And when we eliminate the 5 hindrances through meditation, when we attain one-pointedness of mind, and our mind becomes focused, then the 5 hindrances melt away. Then we see things as they clearly are, yatta bhuta jnana dassana. Then only we can understand the Dhamma. So the Buddha says, foolish people cannot understand the Dhamma. Monks, just as a blue, red or white lotus is born in the water and grows up in the water, but having risen up above the water, it stands unsullied by the water. So too the Tathagata was born in the world and grew up in the world, but having overcome the world, he dwells unsullied by the world. So the Buddha gives a simile like the lotus flower. He was an ordinary person in the world, but having become enlightened, he has transcended the world. So this sutta, the beginning part is quite interesting. He says that the world quarrels with him, the Buddha says. But he does not quarrel with the world. So that's why a lot of teachers, they don't have the courage to speak the truth. Because when you speak the truth, you antagonize people who speak differently. So some monks, they like to be popular. They just teach those things that people like to hear.